Hi, folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
And I'm the guy that loves the 80s.
And I'm David Hasselhoff.
Hello, Michael.
Hello,
All
kids.
right, let's get started here. Let's answer some questions from a few weeks ago. First off, Rory Adams, who we all agree has probably asked the best questions.
This guy's like Quizmaster.
On the show.
Love this guy.
He
Love this guy.
He is the Quizmaster.
Yeah, man.
That's his new name, the Quizmaster. So he asked us which historical figure that has now passed would we like to meet.
Okay.
Mikey?
Michael Jackson.
Hey-o!
What? He's been dead for 5 years. So he's a part of history. He's a historical figure.
Okay.
Yeah, you take me back to like 1983, 1982, right in the thriller phase.
Okay, that's when you want to meet Michael.
Yes.
When he was still a man.
Yeah, when he was still a black man. not 2002 when he was a white woman.
Okay, gotcha.
With the red jacket and all.
Okay, the hat, the Hoff.
Okay, well, I don't know if you could technically call him like one historical figure, but I would like to meet the Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers. Okay, why?
I'm fascinated with aviation.
Okay, well, yeah. They would be the
great.
ones to kind of cheer him on there.
Is that why you're always flying down the road in your car?
That's right, kid. Jump in my car.
Yeah. I would choose probably the very beginning. I would choose Adam, because if you can just walk around naked in a garden full of food and you don't have to work, works for me.
Yeah.
But you know, I guess when you think about it.
Oh, but wait, I just have to meet him. Then I'd be meeting a naked man.
Right.
Yeah. In a garden
I
full
still
of
pick
fruit.
him.
Why not? You know.
Hey, who knows? Hey, Travis Parker 1000 says, "What do we think of that Justice League anime?" He showed us a little clip of it, the anime art. Hasselhoff is our anime specialist here. What do you think? Is there anyone that you would put in that list that was not in there?
Okay. Well, you know, I saw your classics. I saw, Harlock, and I saw, Astro Boy. But I honestly think if you're gonna put something like Lupin in there, I think Speed Racer has a place in there.
Speed Racer.
Yeah.
Definitely Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
I mean, why is not Hello Kitty there?
Yeah, Sailor Moon is for sure has to be there. That's kind of your Wonder Woman, I guess.
And I want Hong Kong Phooey. I know he wasn't anime, but he belongs in everything.
He does.
So,
I mean,
he's the number one super guy.
He's the number one super guy.
He is.
No,
Quicker
I think
than
that's
the
cool.
human
I mean, you're always going to have these crossovers. You're going to have, because I'm not sure which company it is, but I know there's a Spider-Man manga out right now. There's a Wolverine manga, and you're going to have these crossovers, and I think it's interesting. I love it. The only time my face gets a little sour is when you try to take these animated masterpieces and try to make them live action.
Right.
Which is why I'm a little nervous about the Attack on Titan live action, but I could fill up the whole 2 hours talking about that. But we'll move on.
He will digress. Troy Patterson asked, "Do we remember the game from 1978 called Staying Alive?"
No. I remember the 1983 movie Staying Alive, starring John
Around
Travolta.
70
Yep, I remember the movie.
So,
Directed by Sylvester Stallone, by the way, which a lot of people don't know.
I did not know that.
I
Sequel
did not
to
know
Saturday
that.
Night Fever.
Get
Wow.
out of here.
Yeah.
And then Relic says that he feels sorry for me about all my toys being gone.
That is probably the most terrible story I've ever heard.
That's sad. That's sad.
It is sad, but it happened to a lot of people. Relic said at least his mom had the common courtesy to just sell it and make some profit off of it.
Yeah.
That's right. At a garage sale where you get 50 cents for priceless action figures.
Speaking of garage sales, just a brief story right here. I went to space camp when I was like in 4th grade or something, and I came back with a T-shirt that said "I spent the night in space." Right? I mean, like if you're a kid in the '80s, like space camp was a big deal. Like all the way in Huntsville.
Oh yeah, I
Alabama,
love the movie.
Yeah, spent the night there. Like it was absolutely wonderful time of my life. I had a garage sale a couple of years later, and lo and behold, I didn't know it, but my mom sold my "I spent the night in space" shirt for like 10 cents. And I got so mad at her. I was like, that's like my only...
I think I'd be mad about that too. That's kind of personal.
Yeah.
Because then there's some kid out there wearing a shirt that did not spend the night in space.
Exactly. And then there's some guy out there like me who did spend the night in space, doesn't have the T-shirt.
I know, and all my characters, my Star Wars characters from space, were gone.
No.
All right. So before we start talking about 80s TV shows, I need to make a retraction. I made a mistake.
What?
There's a 70s show that should have been number 2 on my list. Nothing Beats Muppets.
That's right. Nothing beats the
Nothing Beats
Muppets.
the Muppet Show. But this one did go to number 2 and bump Laverne and Shirley off of my list.
Okay.
I can't believe none of us mentioned it. Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Which I love Linda Carter,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but
I need to
that's-
apologize to B. Author, but Linda Carter is the sex symbol of the 70s.
Oh wait, hold on now.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Wait a minute.
whoa.
That's
Wait a
true.
minute.
That's
Whoa.
true.
Whoa.
Hold on, you know
Whoa.
who I'm going to give it for the 80s.
Wait, who's that coming in here? Is that Joey Lawrence? Whoa. Wait, bye, Joey. Bye.
Anyway,
I didn't know you knew so many famous people, man.
I know they just all come and go here.
I mean,
It's like a
I
revolving
will
door.
give you one thing. Like Linda Carter was pretty sexy.
Yes,
you
she
know?
was. Yes, she was, and she was a fantastic Wonder Woman.
She had it going on.
Yeah, she did. She did. She carried that superhero torch in the 70s when none
But-
of the superheroes were going on.
Then there's Maud.
And then there's Maud.
Hey,
And then there's
A
Maud.
close second. She should have been Wonder Woman. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I would like to see B. Arthur in the
That
Wonder
would be
Woman outfit.
fantastic.
Then you tell me who's better.
Okay, then B. Arthur would win. Okay, but Linda
Yeah.
Carter had the Wonder Woman outfit, so she wins.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna talk about.
Wait a minute, fellas. I think we're forgetting one person that would look good in the Wonder Woman outfit. And that's Danny Glover in Predator 2.
He said it, not me.
Woo!
He's
All right.
not too old for that shit.
No, he's not.
Ayo!
Anyway, what we want to talk about here is 80s shows, and we love some 80s.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I've been so happy all morning. Like I woke up like I did when I was a kid on Saturday mornings talking about the 80s.
So we're gonna do a top 5. I'm gonna start, and we'll let the Hoff go next, and so you can go last.
Don't
since you
hassle
Hold on a
love
second. Don't
the
hassle the
80s.
Hoff. I'm going to go last, okay?
You're gonna go
Don't
last.
hassle the Hoff.
Oh, okay. We'll let
Take
the
your
Hoff-
time.
we'll
You
let
want to bring up the
hassle.
rear?
There we go. All right. So my number 5 is the Cosby Show. I don't care about all the scandal that's been going on lately in the papers. That show alone, and it didn't affect my top 5, by the way. Don't think it would have been higher before. It was always in my top 5. It still is a good show. It's a fantastic show. There is nothing wrong about
No,
that show.
that show holds up. It doesn't. It's almost like it's a dated show. It's a period piece. It's in the 80s, but still you can watch it, and it's almost like it never aged. It's incredible.
Well, that's because like the show itself is like you said, forget anything that's going on with him. So what
Right.
I talk about is just in the vacuum of that show.
Right.
But it is a real family-oriented show. It's
Exactly.
a real sweet show. It's a real clean show. Like all of his stand-up was always that way.
Exactly.
So like most of that show has to do with just family values and like the growing pains, for lack of a better phrase, of like growing up and dealing with the family and that sort of thing.
And it's a family show that he showed you could be funny.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
Without
thing. The subject
anything
material is so relatable.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5.
My number 5, oh my goodness. Now, I'll leave my soapbox stuff for later. We're just going to stick with top 5 right now.
All right.
So, number 5 on my list of top 80 shows would be Perfect Strangers.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That was one of my honorable
Standing
mentions.
Tall on the wings of our dreams.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh gosh, I was always standing tall on the wings of your dreams, Cousin Larry and Balky Bartakamoose. I love that show. Like I was a big fan of TGIF back in the days, back in the 80s. Thank goodness it's Fridays on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nowadays like putting a TV show on Friday night is like
It's
a death knell. But Jinx, Peach Pokey, owe me a Coke. But back then, like it was a big deal. Like you waited all week long to get to Friday night so you could watch, Perfect Strangers and some other shows that came on in the 90s that we'll talk about later. But that was just a good, fun show. I loved it.
Okay, Hasselhoff.
Alice. Who can turn the world on with a smile? Hit my grits, Mel.
I love hearing your lists because you always will come up with some things that I would never put on my list.
That is nowhere on my list.
Nowhere.
But you know what? I do appreciate that.
I do. I love it. Like
Let me tell you what's funny about Alice. They used to.
Nothing.
Are you hassling the Hoff?
Don't hassle the Hall.
I'm
Are
not
you hassling the
I'm
Hoff?
not hassling
Tell
the
us
Hoff.
what's
I'm sorry.
funny.
Go ahead.
Tell
Go
us
ahead.
what's funny about Alice.
Well, every morning when I would get ready to go to school, Mom would play her favorite TV shows on, I guess it was TV Land. I wasn't alive when Alice was, or even old enough to know what TV was. But in the early '90s, when I was going to school, getting ready and everything, and as maybe more than coincidence, I would be eating my grits Alice would come on TV, and I'd watch it every morning as I got ready for school.
Mm.
I just remember it was just it was great show.
Nostalgia is a powerful tool.
Yeah,
I live my life in a perpetual state of nostalgia, so I get it.
And then there was the ending theme credits. That was just someone going bum bum bum.
So my number 4 is the A-Team. I love everything about the A-Team.
Okay, what did you love about the A-Team besides the obvious?
Besides the obvious, no, the characters. Obviously, the characters. You think about the show, the premise of the show. They're heroes for hire. You know, ex-military people who say,
I usually could say that entire thing at the beginning.
Can you help me find my husband? That's what we're here for, ma'am.
Yes.
No, you're not. You're like military veterans. Why are you doing a missing person thing? But you know what? It didn't matter because all the characters you bought into, you loved, and you wanted to hear what happened to them. You really didn't care about their mission in general.
They were great.
Which member of the A-Team would you be?
Well,
Matt is a face.
I would be
for
face.
sure.
I would be face. I would
Yeah.
be face. It's kind of obvious, but
Okay.
you know, I would love to pity the fool.
Yeah.
There's no way I could be a Mr. T, but I would love to pity the fool. And Mr. T was just iconic back then.
Yeah, I mean that launched his career.
Mhm.
Man, and I don't know if he was the first, but like was he one of the first to make that, you know, WWE or WCW, excuse me, WCW at the time, and you know, jump to like mainstream television, that kind of
No,
icon.
he was actually WWF.
He was WWF.
Yeah,
Okay. But
Yeah.
because did Hogan do that before T or?
Well, Rocky 3 was made, I believe, in like 1983, 82 or 83. And that was right around the time when the A-Team was in like its second or third season.
Yeah.
So A-Team came first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he met Hogan doing Rocky 3, and then WrestleMania 1 was 1985.
And
so,
just kind of he was on
Yeah,
everyone's
I mean
list.
he was all over the place.
People
So-
dressed up as Mr. T for Halloween.
But I'm going to tell you this, David Hasselhoff, I would not be here right now if it wasn't for my mama. Let me tell you about my mama. Last year we went to
It
go
was
see
so
WrestleMania,
great.
right, in New Orleans.
WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, WrestleMania 30. We went to the Hall of Fame, and Mr. T got inducted into the Hall of Fame
Awesome.
of the WWE. And we got to watch live his acceptance speech.
It was awesome.
It was awesome, but I felt really, really bad for him because the entire crowd of like 20,000 people or whatever started to turn on him because for about 45 minutes straight, all he did was talk about his mom, because he's such a, I don't want to say mama's boy, but like he loves his family, loves his mom.
Yeah.
He's very religious, and like they, you know, really rabid like European WWE fans, all they want to hear about is, you know, badassery and
Right.
old wrestling
Right.
stories. But all he wanted to talk about was his mom and how he wants to give glory to his mom, and he wouldn't be here for his mom. And like it got awkward after a while.
It did, because I could feel the audience start to turn sour, and I was like, "You a-holes!
Yeah, and
let him talk."
Eventually, they did something that was not on the script. They had Kane come out there. They played Kane's music, and the fire came out, and then like Kane dressed up like as corporate Kane, not as the character. Because on Hall of Fame night, they're not characters at all. They're
Right.
just terrific. But had him come out there and basically pull the cord on Mr. T, put the little old cane out there and grabbed the cane around his neck and pulled him out. Came out, said something to him, and then made him leave.
Yeah.
And I felt really, really bad.
I did. I felt bad, but the most memorable part of that speech was when he's like, "It's important to tell my mama I love her on Mother's Day, on Father's Day, or whatever." He was just saying every day, and we were going, "What?"
He went on
What?
for about, yeah.
On Christmas Day.
You remember
What?
the old, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin, like,
Yeah.
whenever he would pause, they'd go, "What?" He would do that. He would be like, "I want to tell my mama I love her on Mother's Day,
What?
on Father's Day,
What?
on Valentine's Day,
What?
Oh, my goodness.
tomorrow, my birthday, the 4th of July."
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so back to the A-Team, though. That launched his career. You would be
Oh, yeah.
face. I loved Mr. T. I mean, when you're a kid, that's who you want to be.
Yeah,
I
of
agree.
course. That's who everyone wanted to be.
That's
All
right.
right, number 4.
My number 4 is, as you already mentioned, The Cosby Show. For all the reasons you just mentioned. I mean, it's a fantastic show. It's easy to watch then. It's easy to watch now. I have always adored Bill Cosby as a comedian. I love, like, I like raunchy stuff, don't get me wrong, but like I love the fact that he proved that you could be funny just by being a good storyteller.
Yes,
And
that's
Bill
exactly-
Cosby himself is one of the best stand-up
it is.
routines of all time.
Absolutely, I
It
agree.
is. All right, so give me your number 4.
All right, number 4, Cheers. Of course, I mean, I was born in '87, so I was growing up when these shows were kind of hitting their their heydays, and I remember sliding down the stairs on my naked stomach watching Cheers.
What? Oh my gosh!
My mom and dad would always tell me to stop screwing around while they were
slide downstairs on your stomach.
Very painfully.
Yeah, man.
Wouldn't that mean more like a?
I don't know, man. I had a big head when I was a baby, so I think I carried most of the momentum. You know, I was just kind of. I was like a little.
So what does that have to do with Cheers?
What it has to do with Cheers is this. My mom and dad would always fuss at me while they were watching Cheers because I wouldn't stop screwing around on the stairs.
Okay.
And I remember I would always just I was like, they're busy, they're watching Cheers, so I'm going to slide down these stairs. But, I remember that show always kind of being in the background of me growing up. So, as I got older, I would, kind of go back and watch it when it would air reruns, and it would kind of trigger that nostalgia vibe. And then as I got older, I appreciated for what a good show it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. Good. Well, my number 3 is going to be just some good old boys. It's going to be Dukes of Hazzard.
They're making their way.
Yes, they
never
are.
meaning no harm.
Like a true modern day Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the missus is a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan.
Yeah.
And
Get me started.
This would be her number 1, and there will not be any other top 5. To her, there is no good 80s.
There's no other good.
There's
80s.
only the Dukes of Hazzard.
I can't agree more. I could not agree more. Dukes of Hazzard is it.
And it's really good. It's well put together. It's a great show. Honestly, the people who make the show aren't the stars. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it's Boss Hogg and Roscoe P.
Well, it's
Coltrane.
Roscoe and the car and the General Lee.
Which the way and the
face it.
General Lee.
Let's
No,
face it.
those are the stars.
The General
in
Lee.
the show.
Yeah.
And I love Bo and Luke Duke and Daisy Duke. I love those characters. Uncle Jesse. They're all necessary. They all work together.
What about Coy and Vance?
Well, we can talk about Coy and Vance if you want to, because honestly, I feel bad for those guys. They were just doing a job and subbing in for people because the studio needed that show to go on.
Yeah.
Now, they got a lot of hate, which was unnecessary because they were the runners-up for those positions. And I think if they would have been at the very beginning, people would love Coy and Vance better.
They would.
But because they came in and replaced people's favorites,
right?
Because that whole show was people's family.
Right.
People welcomed them in through their TV sets and treated all the Dukes as their own family.
Yeah, I did.
And so when you bring 2 cousins and everyone's thinking, oh yeah, these guys are great, and they're doing the same things that the other ones are doing, and they're obviously total ripoffs, but they're just doing what the studio said.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for these people, the cousins.
Well, yeah.
And I appreciate the cousins, even though they are not the originals. And yes, they're not anywhere close to the other ones.
I didn't think they were all that bad.
But I felt bad for them when they got shuffled off midway through season 5 when the Dukes signed the contracts and said, okay, hi, cousins, hit the road. And it was like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good thing you're all back. Okay, we're leaving now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Done.
They should have brought them back periodically or given them a better send-off. I feel that they brushed them off, and the fans in general do not like them.
Today they would probably have to do that just because of social media and since the public has a voice. Back then
Right.
they could do that and it doesn't
They could
matter.
do that, but the majority of people didn't like the cousins.
The
missus is not a Coy and Vance
They
fan.
still get a bad rep, but like you said, it's not their
It's
fault.
unfair. It's
I mean,
unfair.
like John Schneider and Tom Wopat decide, we're going to go on and do bigger and better things. Like, we can demand more money. Dukes Hazzard was such a cash cow. Let's bring in these other 2 guys, and then all of a sudden, whenever Schneider and Wopat realized, wait a second, like we had it better off, and let's go back and.
Actually, the ratings were tanking.
Well,
what
yeah.
happened? The studio said, "Okay, we'll give you more money."
Right, exactly. Like they ponied up the more money that they thought that they were worth.
I think nothing wrong with Tom Wopat and John Schneider for doing that.
I mean,
I think they're great, incredible people, and I've gotten to meet the entire cast. Went to a Duke Fest once because the missus begged me to go to Duke Fest, and we did. It was great. It was a family affair. There's like a little fairgrounds. They had mini rides, carnival.
Yeah, I imagine everybody was probably very nice.
It was like a $5 cover charge, and the only rule was no cussing. This is a family event.
Yeah.
That was written on the top thing. They care about families.
My question is, how many General Lee cars were there?
In the show?
No, in the Duke Fest.
Oh my gosh,
probably
a billion?
Yeah.
A billion?
Well, the show had probably 7 to 10 running cars, or maybe more.
No, they had hundreds. They went through hundreds of cars.
Well, not went through, but like at any given time, they had like some car. They had cars specifically rigged for the jumps, specifically rigged for the chase scenes, and specifically rigged for just looking around, looking good. for them to slide through the windows and things. They had a different car for everything.
But Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane, they were so good.
Hot first thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, boss. I can't tell you.
I love. Oh, come on, Flash. Oh,
that's a fantastic character. Fantastic character.
He is fantastic. He's still alive. I got to meet him too.
Good old James.
Still funny. Yeah. Still funny. So glad. So honored. Honestly, honored to get his autograph.
Yeah, I bet.
Because he's a fantastic guy today, and I'm shocked he's still around. But he's still around. He was a great actor who took a comedic role, who could do much better than that.
Yeah, after I started because I used to watch that with my dad. My dad is a mechanic and always been a car man, so that's one of the reasons why I started watching Dukes of Hazzard. But since he's a little bit older, whenever we were talking about Roscoe P. Coltrane and James Best, he would actually show me some old westerns that he used to be in. I mean, a very serious actor. And very good in those old westerns and stuff like that.
Did he do comedy before Dukes of Hazzard?
I don't know.
I think this may be his first comedy bit, and he hit it out of the park. You'd think, watching Dukes of Hazzard, he'd done comedy his whole life.
Yeah.
That wasn't his whole life. He was a very serious actor. It works on this show. In fact, both Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane were so good, they actually had them ad-lib a lot of their scenes later on because they had worked together for years. And they knew how to push along the script. They knew it better than the writers did.
They were a good dynamic duo.
They were. Anyway, all right, so there's my Dukes of Hazzard for number 3.
Love it.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is, well, it's not 1. It's not 2. It's not 3. But it's 4 beautiful, old, sassy ladies living in Miami, Florida.
I knew this was going to come up.
The Golden Girls. Yeah.
Take it away, Mikey.
No, I mean, they've heard me sing enough. They've heard me. But hey, it's got B. Arthur in it. What do you think about B. Arthur, Hasselhoff?
Oh, B. Arthur, that saucy harlot.
Look, the Golden Girls to me was fantastic. Like if the Dukes of Hazzard was something that me and my dad watched, the Golden Girls was something that me and my mom watched. And having 2 older sisters, that's kind of where I got to learn a lot of these kind of girly things from the late '80s. But I'll still watch the Golden Girls. Like the humor to me is just really funny. Like all 4 of the women are very, very different, and the characters are. And really, like to me, that's like classic sitcom. Like this stuff, it doesn't pull any like crazy tricks. It's just good writing, crazy characters that work really, really well together.
And the sad thing about today is that TV show would never get made.
Probably not.
No, because old people.
Well, because they try with Hot in Cleveland and it didn't work, did it? Hot in Cleveland got how many seasons? Because that was
2 or 3 or whatever.
But the thing is, it wasn't a complete old cast.
No, it wasn't
either. They put young people in there now. You've got to have young people in the show because young people watch TV now.
Well, it's
right.
And Craig Ferguson had a great rant about this.
Golden Girls,
deification of youth. That's what it is.
Golden Girls is a brilliant show that never would have gotten a chance if it would have been maybe even in the 90s, I'm going to say. But that show got its chance. It thrived in the 80s, and it deserves every bit of acclimates that it gets.
Okay, I can't hold it in anymore. Thank you for being a friend.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
Travel around the world and back again.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
My heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
If I threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the greatest gift would be for me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Hasselhoff, what is your number 3?
Hasselhoff has gonna Hasselhoff is gonna pick his show as number 3, Knight Rider.
Which has one of the best theme songs ever.
Man, Knight Rider has one of the best theme songs.
I love that.
Now, let me ask you this. If we give you Kit or the General Lee, which one do you accept?
Kit! Are you kidding me? Kit!
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. The General Lee is cool.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say the General Lee.
I would say General Lee.
I would say the General Lee. But I think Kit is very awesome. That's not a slight to Kit.
No, Kit was a cool car.
Got to be Kit. That car is fantastic.
I love that show.
General Lee's probably faster, but
like I'm gonna talk a little bit later about the.
They did a sequel to Knight Rider in the '90s. It was called Baywatch at Night.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the same thing?
Yeah. No, I love Knight Rider. My dad used to watch it with my brother and I. We used to, sit on the couch, watch Knight Rider, and my brother used to. He was younger than me, so he used to very in a toddler way sing the theme song. And it was.
I'll tell you what's interesting to me about Knight Rider, and this really talks about, we always look at these shows and we're like, man, they couldn't make these shows today. But really, like, when you really think about it, like, they couldn't, they shouldn't, they won't. They've tried and they can't. What I'm trying to get at here is that in, 2008-ish, something like that, they actually tried to bring back Knight Rider.
Yeah, you're right.
On NBC.
Work. It didn't work.
And I watched it, like I watched the whole pilot
Right.
episode. It was like a pilot movie. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't that bad. Like, I'm a big fan of the original, so comparing it to the original as far as like themes and how they had to update it and stuff, it wasn't bad. It just didn't catch on. Now, if it didn't catch on because it was called Knight Rider and nobody wanted to attach itself to an old show, because let's face it, we love the 80s. There's a lot of people out there that don't like the 80s, and they want to put it behind them and stuff. If it would have been named differently, would it have a different success rate? I don't know. I doubt it. But these type of shows, yeah, they survived then, but they probably wouldn't survive now. And I think it's just a testament to where the world is now. Like you're saying, like back then, shows, I know shows have always been about making money. Hollywood has always been about making money. But if you really look at the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, it kind of started changing then. But into the 80s, shows were about the content, about the story. It wasn't about, young and hip and modern and Instagram and Twitter and, got to make money. But you can see that TV. You can see that in movies. You can see that specifically in music, because the musicians of the 70s were just old, ugly men that made really good music. Nowadays, like, you can't survive that way. You have to be some Disney or Nickelodeon.
Well, it's like you had fewer things to take your attention away. I mean, like, everybody's so, like, they've got so many things that they're dividing their attention between that, it's when it's, it was very much, the multitasking wasn't a thing. When you think about it, when it's time to watch TV, it's time to watch TV.
Yeah.
You gave all your attention to TV.
When Knight Rider came on,
exactly.
Like, there's no DVR,
exactly.
there's no cell phone. Like,
it's
if you weren't there to watch it, you missed it.
Exactly. It's time to watch TV.
It held your whole attention.
Exactly. So and because people were paying so much attention to these TV shows, that the story had to be great. I mean, it had to have a good story.
And the same could be said for the 90s, because really, TiVo didn't come into the picture until the late 90s.
No,
and it wasn't that big either.
And cell phones were so dorky back then, you didn't want one.
Well, you couldn't text on them.
You couldn't text.
Yeah, and not many people had them, and plus, it cost a lot.
But, I mean, that's my argument as to why people, some shows, in my opinion, are lacking a lot of thick subject materials, because the audience is so distracted. I mean, people are, you can't, I would challenge you to find someone who's watching go to a theater, go to a movie. I would challenge you to find one person that is not texting.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what?
It's a different generation.
Just to piggyback on that, and then to move forward, like, this is a problem that the networks have. NBC, CBS, Fox, and ABC. And they have some good shows here and there, don't get me wrong. But it is proven, because since we are in a golden age of TV that we'll talk about in 2 weeks, it is proven by Breaking Bad, by The Walking Dead, by a number of these shows, whether it be Dexter, Games of Thrones, whatever, yada, 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 that you can have good serialized TV shows that, have big, long storylines that have things that don't necessarily, that'll connect like 3 episodes later. Like, people are smart. People will pay attention, and people get into it if the story is still there. So I don't think that these networks really have figured that out yet, because cable is killing them. But anyway, I digress.
All right.
Knight Rider, great show.
My number 2. Magna PI.
Oh, yes.
Definitely Magna PI. Everything about Magna PI
Yes.
is fantastic. All the Hickey Baby. Love Hickey Baby.
You know what I like to go on? I like to go on YouTube and look at some of the bloopers.
But the thing about Magna PI that I love about this show is how awesome you hear Tom Selleck is in real life to this cast. Like, he didn't even want to come back for season 8. He gave his bonus to the whole crew.
Right. Really?
Cast and crew.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's yes. And I shouldn't say
all the money they paid him, he didn't take a dime of it. He invested it back with the cast and crew, bought them stuff, did stuff for them, let each one of his co-stars direct one of the episodes. If you notice, they direct a lot more episodes, because Tom Selleck had his way. He could do whatever he wanted as long as they brought him back, because the ratings were still sky high.
You want to know why?
At the end of 7. Well, yeah,
because of his mustache.
Because
he's got the best. He's got the best mustache in his. Does he have the best mustache in history? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's between him and Hogan.
Yeah, but Burt Reynolds really had a good mustache.
But
too.
no, the thing.
I'm gonna go with Magnum over
Yeah,
Burt
but
Reynolds.
Selleck has to have
he
the
would-
best
yeah.
mustache ever.
He
You know
would.
what? I'm gonna pose this question to the audience.
That's a good one. That's a good question to pose.
Who has the best TV/movie mustache of all time? If you
Yeah.
can beat Magnum PI, post it.
Hats off to you.
I know.
Yeah, but you
I know
can't.
one.
You
name
can't.
that's gonna
Trick
show up.
question. You
Yeah.
can't.
Now, John Oates from Hall & Oates does a pretty
Yeah,
good
and,
lip caterpillar,
And
but
The guy from the Quaker Oats commercial.
yeah, Boston. I can't think of his name right now.
Who?
Boston.
the guy that from the band
The
Boston?
lead singer of Boston.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't think
yeah.
of his name right
I don't
now.
know.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury.
Oh, you just said you can't get. Yo, I love
What's
Freddie
his,
Mercury.
is his name? Sam.
I don't know, but anyway, Magnum PI and his mustache. That's
Magnum
very
PI,
generous
his
of him.
mustache
Like,
is very good. Yeah, he was a very generous man. But the show worked
it's
well.
a cool show. I mean, it's a
It's
great
an
show.
awesome show. In fact, I know a guy here in town. He's a Tigers fan. And I said, are you from Detroit? No. Then why are you a Tigers fan? He went, because Magnum PI wore a Detroit Tigers hat. And I said, if Magnum likes the Tigers, then so do I. I said, that is an excellent reason to be a Tigers fan. The Tigers just moved up on one of my favorite baseball teams now because of that.
Brad Delp. Sorry.
Brad Delp.
All right, so
No,
number 2.
Wait, I have one more thing on Magnum PI.
Okay.
When I say bloopers, what I mean is it kind of goes back to what you said about Tom Selleck's character. When you go back and you look at some of these like off camera, like they're not really rolling for the show. It's just him talking to the actors. You see what kind of person he really is. He's really a good person. I mean, like
he is.
Just to watch him talk to the actors and everything. I like to watch that. I like to see that kind of that candor there. Anyways, go ahead.
No, I agree. Mikey, number 2.
My number 2. I don't know all the words to this theme song, so I'm not gonna sing it, but I am gonna do the first part of it. Na 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 na. Something. Pull yourself up a chair. It's Cherry. Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Wow.
Something. Pull down your hair.
Wow.
That was 86, wasn't it? That was 80s.
Pee-wee's
Wow.
Playhouse, absolutely. I am a huge fan of Pee-wee. I mean, I always have been. I don't care about his scandal. I don't care about his disappearance. Much like Cosby Show, much like Michael Jackson, whatever. I don't care if he touched little
Or
boys.
Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Screw Screech. But like Pee-wee Herman as a character in the '80s to me was phenomenal. If you were a kid from the '80s, if you tell me you did not like Pee-wee Herman, I will call you a liar. Like, he captivated like America within the '80s. I love that show. Now, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, 1985, Tim Burton's first film, put him on the map, loved it. And then when they did this CBS show, it was only like 43 or 45 episodes. It really wasn't a lot. But it was magical. It was inventive. It was strange. It was bizarre. And as a kid, it really, you went into his world. And love it.
And here's the wild thing. I hated that show, but I love the movies.
Really?
And there really isn't, like Mikey said, they keep the same premise going on because the movies were crazy and weird and out there. But for some reason, to me, the movies worked and the show bored me as a kid. I never watched it growing up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. No,
but I love the movies.
There's a big
It's
difference,
weird.
though, because in the TV show, he had a lot more creative control. So it was very zany, which now Pee-wee Herman, Paul Reubens created this character in the late 70s. And one of the funniest Pee-wee Herman things you could ever watch is an old HBO special from the early 80s, even before the movie. And it was Pee-wee Herman, I don't remember the name of it, but it was off Broadway or something. So it was like a stage play. And it was dirty, it was kind of raunchy, it was very adult rated Pee-wee Herman stuff. But it had some of these same characters with Cowboy Curtis and then Miss Yvonne. They were played by different people.
Right.
But it was a completely different take on Pee-wee. Now, how Pee-wee ended up going from that to kids loving him, I really couldn't connect that. It may be that movie. But if you look at the movie, the first movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, as much as it was Pee-wee the character, that was Tim Burton through and through. If you look at that movie in relation
very
to
Tim Burton-esque.
it's very Tim Burton-esque. And so I could see why you would like that movie, but then not necessarily. And Big Top Pee-wee was about the same way. It was, movie form. But it wasn't just off-the-wall, zany, weird, strange like the TV show was, which I liked, but some people may not have.
Right. Anyway, good pick. Good pick. Didn't even think of that one.
And Judd Apatow is actually producing and directing a new Pee-wee
I heard.
movie coming out.
I will check it out.
Yeah.
Number 2, Hasselhoff.
Well, my 2 is Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean,
For the same reason.
What's your favorite character?
Come on.
Oh, Stanley.
Oh, see, I think Blanche is my favorite character.
You know,
What?
actually,
Yeah.
I think
What?
Yeah, man. She was like that old. She started the cougar. She started the G-MILF.
Let me tell
grandma.
everyone.
But what about one graduating further than that? The GG MILF, Sophia.
Oh well, no.
Sophia Petrelli.
They were all great characters.
I mean, not
Let
Petrelli.
me just
What the
tell
hell,
the
Petrillo?
listeners out there,
Petrillo.
there's a reason that we love the author so much. There's a little inside joke going on here too. There is an award or / statue called the Bee Author, and someone gets it when they do some extra bravado on stage, impromptu bravado.
And then it evolved to being
It was a one-upmanship between
we
Mikey
do it,
and
not just in
the
shows.
Hoff.
Though.
And right now it's in the Hoff's possession,
The
and it
Hoff
has
has.
been for years.
It has been for years.
But I'm going to be honest. This past year, Mikey had a chance to win back the Bee Author,
I did.
and he teen wolfed out of it.
I did.
But I'll be honest. I would have stripped that award from you and give it to him permanently.
You wouldn't have had to have done that. I would have willingly. It would have been a ceremony.
Yeah.
He would have been knighted.
Yeah.
Sir Michael Steele of B. Arthur.
B. Arthur. The trophy of B. Arthur is a little bitty unicorn.
Yeah.
With a
It's
pink
so
mane.
messed
It's
up.
like a toy unicorn.
It's so messed up. I don't even know why we have it. Anyway.
I should have taken that chance. I should have taken that chance and taken B. Arthur and just locked it away in the mantle.
Now, should we clarify for our audience what teen wolfed out of it means?
No. Let's just keep it a secret, but I'll tell everybody.
I think if you don't know what that means, you probably aren't a fan of the podcast.
Well, I'm just going to say I'm a little prick for not doing it.
And also, I want to save myself from an actually moment. I said Sophia Petrelli earlier, thinking about Peter Petrelli from Heroes.
Yeah.
It's Sophia Petrillo.
That's right.
So,
Oh, my
all
goodness.
those actuallys in the comments.
Okay. Anyway, let's go to our number one.
Number ones. Here we go, getting serious.
It's gonna be MacGyver.
Yeah.
It's gonna be MacGyver.
I would argue that MacGyver may have a better theme song than Knight Rider.
Yes, it does.
I love MacGyver.
Everything about MacGyver is so good, and to be honest, all his stuff works, but not to that extent. I remember he made the smoke grenades out of the pine cones, and we were going, dude, we have tree sap, we have pine cones, we have lighters, we can make smoke grenades too. So we did. But instead of this billowing white smoke that stopped all the army cars, there's this little wisp of smoke just continually coming out. We're like, doesn't really make big billowy white clouds. So they embellished on the results.
I would like to do like some sort of research project to see like how many one-eyed, one-armed dead people are out there from watching MacGyver and trying to do the things that he did with like a paper clip and some bubble gum.
Before Jackass, there was.
But it was awesome. I got a chance to meet
love that
RDA, Richard Dean Anderson.
Wow.
I call him RDA. He's a friend of mine.
Well, sure, yeah.
And meeting him was really awesome. But it's funny because now he's better known for Stargate.
Yeah.
And I was the only person in an increasingly long line. It's the longest line I've ever had to wait in for a star. Everyone had Stargate stuff. I was the only one with having them sign a blue jean jacket wearing, mullet loving MacGyver photo.
Yes.
In the crowd. And it was funny because I know what Stargate is, but I was just going around there pissing other people off going, is that MacGyver in space? What was that episode? And they're telling me it's Stargate. Oh, was that a MacGyver episode? You know, I'm just acting like I only knew MacGyver.
Let's see, give me this oxygen container and this bottle of Tang.
Yeah.
I'll patch up this spaceship in no time.
But he's fantastic. He's a fantastic guy. It was well worth getting. My MacGyver autograph is one of my most treasured possessions.
I love that show. My favorite one is the one, it's from season 1. It's called, I think, Trumbo's World, but it's the one with the ants. Everybody always remembers the MacGyver with the ants, where the ants takes over this like South American plantation, and he's got the, he's up there with the fire extinguisher, like on the lookout, and like it's really creepy for like the 80s because like a couple of times in that episode, like these guys just shows like these guys he's getting killed by like this colony army of ants.
It's
just
scary to me, man.
And again, you have classic characters like Mac the cab driver, Pete his boss, which is fantastic. Terry Hatcher, actually, was that her first TV appearance? Or big TV appearance?
It was.
She was a recurring character,
right?
And she was fantastic.
Right. They're real and they're fantastic.
Spectacular.
It was a fantastic show.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, so what is Mikey's number one?
My number one, and there's no much like the Muppet Show in the '70s. To me, there's no comparison. This is one of the best TV shows of all time. Period. Forget the decade. It's everything about it is absolutely the best, and it's Cheers.
Oh, okay.
Cheers is one of the absolute best shows I've ever seen in my entire life. It's quality through and through, and the reason why I say this now, most of my life, like I said earlier, is nostalgia. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch Cheers whenever I was young. I didn't watch it in the '80s. I didn't watch it in the '90s. I didn't watch it in the 2000s. I just watched Cheers last year.
Wow.
For the first time.
Wow.
And so that's why I can honestly say that this show holds up so well.
One of the best series finales ever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Honestly.
Yes. It's
the last episode will break your heart.
From beginning to end, that show is money. Like the writing is second to none, and they do such a wonderful job. Even from the first season alone. Now, very few shows have done this where, like, from the first season, they hit the ground running. And they just go.
You're right.
And that one does.
It's
it
hard.
Establishes these wonderful characters and these funny moments. But I like how, 90% of it is just in the bar. It's about random things that happen in the bar, but it's when you get to know the characters, and Norm and Cliff and Carla and then Sam and and then whenever to me, I like what's her Shelley Long. I can't think of her character's name right now. But I like her better than Kirstie Alley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just did. Like, there was just something about it, maybe because it was new and it was fresh in the beginning. And then Coach, whenever Coach passed away, and then all that stuff happened. Spoiler alert. But Woody came on and did a really good job.
Yep. I said that opened up more talent.
Right.
That never would have happened if Coach would have passed away. And Coach was a great character.
Yeah. Oh, I love his character, and he didn't go. He was just dumb enough and didn't go full retard. And it was just great.
Did you notice in the finale they paid homage to Coach?
Yeah, he goes.
He straightens his picture.
Straightens the picture. I love it. But what's cool about that show? There's two things that are really cool to me about that show. Number one, to be like the most popular show on TV, because let's face it, this show made Thursday night NBC must-watch TV, because it premiered in the early '80s.
Oh yeah.
And this did it, and then it started this huge trend that most of us our age know today that they just recently ended. Started with Cheers, then went to the Cosby Show, then went to like Mad About You, and then Seinfeld, and then Friends, and then Will and Grace, and it just kept going and going. I love how you have a popular show like Cheers, one of the most popular shows of all time, critically and with viewers, that you can replace two of the main characters halfway through it with, Woody Harrelson and Kirstie Alley, and it still is just as popular, if not more popular. That's very difficult to do. Think about replacing like Joey or Ross or something from Friends.
Yeah, the show tanks.
Yeah, but to do it on that show, it's a testament to that crew and that cast and everything. And then number two, for Kelsey Grammer to start at the end of season 2, playing Frasier, and then to just be kind of maybe like a one-off type character, to getting more and more playtime in season 3, going all the way to the end of Cheers, and then going 11 seasons as Frasier.
Yeah.
That's like 20 years of this dude's life playing like the same character, and it being highly rated all 20 years. Mm-hmm. Like, that's almost unheard of. Like,
that's true.
You look what happened to Joey,
It's a true testament.
2 seasons and he's gone. Like, it's so that show just means so much to me. It's such a wonderful show. And I love it.
I think there you have another example of a show that brings you into their world.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It's 100% like immersion for the viewer. You grow with these characters, you laugh, and you
definitely.
Laugh at
and some of it is a product of the '80s. They do talk a lot about pop culture and different things of that time. but so much of it is relatable to you as a person because you know all the people that work there or that frequent the bar, and then all the different things that happen to them are very kind of like the Cosby Show, and they're just real world stuff.
Yeah, true. Hasselhoff, number 1.
The Incredible Hulk.
Lou Ferrigno.
Ooh, that would have been Bruce's number 1 show, actually.
Yeah.
That's my number 1.
And I'll be honest, I love that show too.
It is good.
I mean, honestly, that theme song is probably one of the best.
I wouldn't put it over MacGyver, but yeah, it's up there.
I don't know. I love MacGyver, but the Incredible Hulk song. Dun, 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 dun,
yeah, that piano.
dun,
Yeah.
The piano at the end when he's hitchhiking. Oh, so beautiful. But I know grown men who cry whenever they hear that. I know a big buff guy who works out in the gym every day. He's my age, and if he hears the Incredible Hulk piano, he will tear up.
Okay, so the Incredible Hulk to me. The Incredible Hulk takes me back to this time.
Yeah? What were you saying?
When me and my dad and my brother, we would sit on the couch and we would watch The Incredible Hulk. And I'd casually ask my dad, "Can I have the remote?" And he would say, "Sure, son. It's your turn." And he would let me, if I wanted to, change the channel. But we had our moment of father and son bonding. And I didn't change the channel. I just turned up the volume. And I said, "Dad, can I have another bowl of cereal?" "Yes, son. You can have another bowl of cereal."
Oh, well done. Well done, sir.
Anyways, alright, so The Incredible Hulk, it has it all. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. You know, it wasn't the first, it was my favorite, superhero live action TV series.
Well, it certainly wasn't the first because they had a Spider-Man.
It was,
they had Superman in the 50s.
Yeah, and
but they had that Spider-Man in the 70s,
one
which was cheesy, but I loved it.
Hulk is a good call.
But Hulk
That's
is
a good
fantastic.
call.
I mean, God, how awesome were those effects when he would morph and he would turn green and he had the green eyes and he would just
an interesting side bit about the Incredible Hulk, really about Lou Ferrigno. So just this past week, I watched Pumping Iron for the very first time. Have you ever watched that movie?
Yeah, we were talking about it. I haven't seen it, but
the documentary in 1977 about Arnold Schwarzenegger going for his 6th straight Mr. Olympia title.
Mm-hmm.
But it had Lou Ferrigno in it, and it stars Lou Ferrigno. And this is the first time the world has ever seen Lou Ferrigno. He's like 23, 24 years old. He had just won like Mr. Universe and was trying to compete against Arnold as Mr. Olympia. And the dude was huge and stuff. But like they talked about kind of in the aftermath of the documentary how that documentary made Lou Ferrigno. Like it was a big success, and he the world knew who he was then, and that led to him getting that role.
And you're forgetting the other star of the Incredible Hulk, which is Bill Bixby, who is unbelievably fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
unbelievably fantastic.
Well, because of his acting chops and how wonderful he was as Bruce Banner, that makes Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk that much better.
And I think that was
coining the phrase "You wouldn't like to see me angry."
Right.
And no one can say it better. Well, Edward Norton did a good job.
I think
Ed
Norton did a good job, but not like Bixby.
Exactly, and I think that's what some of the directors of the past and some of the people who have attempted to make this movie a live action adaptation, I think that's the one thing they've been forgetting is it's not the Hulk that sells the movie. You have to have a good Bruce Banner. Because, I mean, Lou Ferrigno is a huge guy. We know what he's going to do. He's going to come in there, he's going to tear everything up, he's going to be super strong, but you need to have a character that really is kind of a pivot point for the show.
Well, it's a Jekyll and Hyde thing. It's really like a good guy to bad guy thing. Like a good guy can only be as good as the bad guy.
Exactly. And that's why I really did enjoy the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I did enjoy
really that because I thought he played an excellent Bruce Banner. It's Bruce Banner on the run. It was great.
All right, so what we want to do is we're going to give off some honorable mentions because there's like a billion we have.
Yeah.
I want to name a few. Love Boat. The reason the Love Boat, exciting and new.
I would take a cruise on the Love Boat.
We're expecting you.
I would apply for a job.
You didn't love that captain, huh? Yeah, everything about that show. My mom used to watch it, so that was the show I used to watch with my mom was the Love Boat.
Okay.
I also have Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Yeah,
these are all shows that Mom used to watch.
Yeah, I remember that.
Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Murder, She Wrote.
Oh man, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Matlock.
Matlock.
Yeah. Oh, and a fantastic theme song from Matlock.
Yes.
Remington Steele,
Yeah.
which stars a pre-James Bond Pierce Brosnan. Mom thinks at his best. In fact, Mom was very upset when that show got canceled or finished because she really loved that show. And then another one that me and my brother talk about all the time, but we never see anymore, so we don't know how good it was, but it was Riptide. Does anyone remember Riptide?
Yeah,
you do. Mm-hmm. And we really want to watch that show again to see if it's as good as we remember.
I'll see if I can find that.
Riptide would be interesting to watch. And, of course, one that I'm kind of surprised that none of y'all put on your list. Who's the Boss? Because it almost made my top 5.
See,
it almost made my top 5.
It's an honorable mention for me.
And I'm embarrassed now that it didn't get into the top 5, but I just couldn't include it into any of my other shows. But Who's the Boss almost made it.
Yeah,
that's got one of my.
For living.
And since this guy went south and went Pee Wee Herman, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe that. I should have put Fraggle Rock. Yeah, because Jim Henson was still hitting home runs in the 80s.
When I mentioned
this one just didn't fill up. It didn't hit the top 5. But that doesn't take away anything from what Jim Henson accomplished in Fraggle Rock. He showed that he took away all his star characters, created new Muppets, and it worked. Gave them names.
Good.
He's good.
The wife, when I mentioned we were doing the 80s this weekend, she was like, Fraggle Rock! Fraggle Rock! She's just screaming Fraggle Rock.
Oh, down in Fraggle Rock. Mm-hmm. You know, you let the music play, you know.
Oh my God.
So that theme songs, that may win. Fraggle Rock may win for me.
Oh, man.
And then finally, even though it could have taken place in almost any decade, because it's still an ongoing show, is Sesame Street. Mm-hmm. But to me, Sesame Street is an 80s show because that's when I grew up watching. That's where I remember the most of it. And that's when it took some of its most controversial episodes. Honestly, one of its first ones was the death of Mr. Hooper happened in the early 80s. I don't know if you remember this.
I know of it, but I don't remember.
I was watching it back then. We all love Mr. Hooper. Mr. Hooper passed away in real life, and they didn't know how to deal with it. So they did an episode about death, which was very, whoa, you're telling little kids about death and dying? But they used Big Bird. Big Bird's looking into the shop wondering where Mr. Hooper is. And Gordon and Maria and Bob have to tell him, he's not coming back, Big Bird. And it's this whole thing about death, and at the end they all group hug Big Bird, who's sad.
That's very important.
But it was unbelievable because I remember watching going, he's dead? I'm thinking, why would they kill him off? You know, just like shattered me. I didn't know the actor had died. Right. So I always felt bad for Mr. Hooper because we had a Sesame Street record with Mr. Hooper, a picture of Mr. Hooper in it. I was like, poor Mr. Hooper, he's dead now. You know, because he was a character, but you know, they knew the kids wouldn't buy the whole, oh, he moved away. They could have done that. They were thinking about doing the whole, oh, he moved away. But no, let's just go ahead and tackle that subject. And that was back when they didn't care, back when Cookie Monster could eat cookies, not carrots. C was for cookie, dadgummit, back then. And then remember the guy who trying to sing the alphabet and never could get it right and then bang his head on the piano? Yeah. He's been banned now because that's violence. Because kids will bang their heads on piano and hurt themselves. So we can't have a violent character as that. It's gotten so PC now, it's disgusting to me. But the thing is, though, C is for Cookie Monster. You go for it. Enjoy yourself a cookie. You're a kid.
That's right.
Now, you should eat responsibly.
For,
go for
Mike,
honorable
you can
mentions. Yeah.
Okay, well, you got a lot of my honorable mentions, but one of mine is Tales from the Dark Side. That was an hour-long series, and it was just so creepy. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Twilight Zone and that kind of stuff. So Tales from the Dark Side is a no-brainer for me. It did have a stint in the 90s as well. But the stories were just so bizarre and so creepy. I remember watching that, and it would just put me in this place of just, so creepy. And there's another show that used to do that for sure, and to this day will do that in the 90s. We'll get to that next weekend. Okay. But Tales from the Dark Side is one for me, and the cop show in the heat of the night.
My mom, Carol O'Connor.
Yeah, and my mom and dad used to watch that one, and I remember seeing that one.
Of course. Okay, Mikey, do you have a few?
Well, I have a few things going on here. All right, so previously we decided we were going to do just our top 5s. Well, when it comes to the 80s, with me, like I can't do it. Like it's just extremely difficult. But I also started thinking about the landscape of TV in the 80s. And what happened was cable TV started getting big. And you really just didn't have like sitcoms. So I actually made a list of like, you know, my top 5 sitcoms. And then I made a list of my top 5 hour-long TV shows. Now,
all within the 80s.
Yeah, all within the 80s because, like, you really, to me, this is just my opinion, you can't really compare, like, shows like The A-Team to, like, Cheers because they're two completely different types of shows. And there was just, like, this wealth of stuff coming out of the 80s. So my list, if you go back and listen to it, it was all the sitcoms. So I'll just briefly, we've already talked about most of these. My top 5, just in the hour-long section, number 5 would be MacGyver, number 4 would be Magnum P.I., number 3 would be A-Team, number 2 would be Knight Rider, number 1 would be Dukes of Hazzard. Okay. So we already talked about all those.
Gotcha.
But a couple of the other, like, hour-long ones that I think worth mentioning, and here's the thing about these top 5s, even though, when it comes to the 80s, even though these are my favorites, like, these other ones that are honorable mentions, like, it doesn't take away from these shows at all because they were so daggum good. Like, Miami Vice, fantastic show. Hill Street Blues. A lot of people don't really remember much about Hill Street Blues, but Hill Street Blues paved the way for all of the cop shows you see today. It was an hour-long cop drama, one of the first on TV. It lasted many years. So anything that you see today that's kind of police procedural, it really kind of came from that. Okay. Same thing with St. Elsewhere. That launched the career of Denzel Washington.
Yeah, St. Elsewhere.
You know, any type of ER and Grey's Anatomy and all these type of like hospital shows really kind of came from St. Elsewhere. 21 Jump Street was a great show. Airwolf. Yeah. I mean, anytime your main character is the guy has 3 first names, Jan Michael Vincent. Hello. Yeah, you're good. V. That's a super science fiction there, but V was a great.
V is good. The only reason it didn't make mine is because it was a mini series. But right. No, it's good.
Like I like that. And then let's see. So yeah, those are all those. But then when it comes to sitcoms, you know, Growing Pains, Family Ties, Alf, Facts of Life, Different Strokes.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, Who's the Boss? Like there's just tons of these ones that are great. Like, you know, and it's hard to really argue with Family Ties. I don't really know how that didn't get on my top 5 because it's such a wonderful show to me. But, you know, that's just a testament of really what was starting to happen in TV. There's a lot of good shows out there. Dallas, Knots Landing, Dynasty. You know, these things were really, really, really huge. Falcon's Crest. Yeah, those were big. You know, but the thing is that I didn't really watch any of them. I know that Dallas is one of the most celebrated shows of all time. I've never seen an episode of it. But if you go back and you look at like history and you look, I mean, Dallas is, you know, one of the top rated shows of all time.
Right. And what I love about going back and if you know, if you haven't watched these shows, what's great to go back and watch is kind of like the first time I watched Casablanca. There's so many references you get after you watch that. And now, like, if you go back and you watch these iconic shows like Dallas, you go back and Cheers, you go and you watch these shows and you get references from things you've seen before, and you kind of like you're with your friends and everybody's going, ah, ha, ha, and they get it, and you're like, ha, okay, it's funny, but...
That's a great point, because whether you like it or not, you know, like I said earlier, there's some people out there that don't like the 80s, or some people like that were just kind of like, that are younger than us, that really weren't exposed a lot to the 80s like we were. If you're one of those people, I implore you to go and start looking at stuff from the 80s, because you're absolutely right. Like the 80s, whether good or bad, whether they were paying homage or making it a punchline, pop culture references to things that happened in the 80s are everywhere in today's world. So, yeah, if you want to be on the inside joke, on the inside track, go watch some 80s.
Definitely, the 80s shows should never be underestimated. I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely not.
Folks, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to our 80s edition, 80s TV edition.
I love the 80s.
I know you do. And we'll see you next week on some Saturday morning Samoflange. Ba 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 ba.